Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Starbow Micro Tricks. My name is Cepheus and today I will be focusing on vultures and it's especially the use and counter usage of spider mines. So that will be today's special focus. We're going to start right off the bat with some vultures versus Dragoon Micro. Now, interestingly enough, Dragoons are supposed to counter vultures. So engaging Dragoons with vultures is not necessarily a good thing. But if you do have a smaller group of smaller number of Dragoons and you have some time to do some micro, there's a couple of neat little things you could do. What you want to do in theory is that you want to have the vultures run all around these Dragoons. You want to have them be as surrounded as possible and then have all the vultures drop down a spider mine each. And here's the important part. You want the vulture to keep taking shots from the Dragoons and keep firing at the Dragoons until it's just the time for those spider mines to pop off and go off. That's when you want to pull out so you don't die to the splash damage. Because if you pull out right away, what's going to happen is the Dragoon's just going to shoot down the spider mines. Now, and this also opens up for some counter micro from the Dragoons. This is not a simple scenario, this is a quite complex one. But this opens up for some counter micro from the Dragoons to shoot down the spider mines, focus on the spider mines instead of the vultures, because the vultures do have a higher attack priority than the spider mines. So let me just not micro these vultures, I'll just have them on cold position and just do this like from the Terran perspective. And still a bit tricky, but let's do like all mines here, and then mines here, and then mines here. Like that. And then we fire for a bit, and then we get out of there! And I unfortunately moved the Dragoons as well. So I pulled out a little bit late, but you see the effect. That was 6 vultures versus 4 Dragoons, which is something Dragoons really should win actually. Alright, the next micro trick we're going to look at is going to be, this is more of a precaution than a micro trick I suppose, but a lot of times you want to put out spider mines everywhere because you want to control the space, especially as a Terran mech versus Protoss. Now you got to be a little bit careful because a lot of times the ideal place to put a spider mine is about this distance away from the siege tank. You want to make sure that running Zealots explode around here and not in the face of a siege tank. Now a lot of times you put up a lot of spider mines here at the front, but then you want to keep turtling forward, so you keep unsieging and sieging your siege tank, and then you might end up in a situation like this where the siege tanks have placed themselves right in front of the spider mines, and this is potentially very dangerous because the spider mines do give friendly splash damage. So in this situation the vultures would actually want to kill off their own spider mines, which is quite easy to do, but let's just see what happens when you don't. So we have this warp prison full of zealots. I don't know why they don't show up, but whatever, it's just a unit tester. So if we drop this now, kablam! That's just some really sad siege tanks right there. So we're going to have a look at the situation again quite differently. Okay, so here we have a much better situation. Here we see the 3 siege tanks, although they're clumped up, which they shouldn't be, but I'm just showing this because I want to compare with the other situation we had. The spider mines are much further away, and the vultures are close to the siege tanks to protect them. And this is a much more ideal situation to deal with something like Zealot bomb drop. So we're going to do the same kind of Zealot bomb drop here. It's going to drop right here. And it is still quite devastating, but it's much less devastating because these siege tanks aren't even attacking. And even if they were, they're not really doing that much splash damage to deal that much damage to our siege tanks. So look at the difference that made by having the spider mines in a different location. Okay, now we're going to have a look at how you want to make your spider mine fields look. There are, I guess, 2 general different ways of spider mine fields. You have these kind of spider mine fields that I have on the map right now, which are like big clumps. Okay, this one wasn't as big of a clump. Let me actually clump this up. And then after this test, we're going to have a look at another spider mine type of field where they're much more spread out. They both have their advantages and disadvantages, and that's basically what I'm going to show. I'm not going to say one is right and the other is wrong. It really depends on the situation in the game. But if you have a lot of melee units like Zealots with speed, you want to have them a little bit more spread out, because what happens when they're clumped up is that they will kill each other. The first spider mine that goes off will kill off the rest. There's a little bit of a delay to make sure they don't completely kill off, that maybe a couple goes off, but it's not the best thing that happens. If you just have a look at this, a couple of Zealots are a little bit in the front, that usually happens. So that did kill off a lot of Zealots actually, but having them more spread out would have been much more effective in that situation, and we'll look at that later. I'll have the same number of Zealots and I'll have a more spread out minefield, and we can look at that. Now, versus groups that have ranged, versus ranged units with with fast reaction time, which is the same as a low damage point, like a Marine, you actually want to have them clumped up, because if you have them spread out, they're just going to kill the spider mines before they actually attack. But when you have them clumped up, at least one of them will go off, and all you need to do to kill Marines is for one of them to go off, like that. So they can kill a couple, but they can't kill all of them. And it's the same with Hydralisks. They're also fast response range units. And we also see in this situation that you want to have more of them, because then some of them are guaranteed to go off, just like that. So versus the fast range units, the fast melee units, you want to have them spread out, and versus these clump units, you want to have them clumped up. I mean, not clump units, these range units, you want to have them clumped up. Man, I can't talk today. Okay, so what we're going to look at now is that we have the spider mines much more spread out, like you can see. And let's do the Zealots again first. So this is more optimal versus fast melee units like the Zealots and probably the Zerglings. So if we have these Zealots move across the minefield now, fewer mines should be triggered at a time, which we look at already the Zealot. Yeah, we only needed like 5 spider mines to kill off all of the Zealots. While in the other situation we had like 8 clumped together and it only killed off about half of them. So that's more effective. But versus things like Hydralisks, which do more DPS and it has much faster reaction time, they are easily going to be able to kill off 1 spider mine at a time, even 2 at a time, when walking through a minefield that is spread out. See, this isn't even a problem for them. And we can see the same with the Marines. This might not be enough Marines though to DPS it down so fast. We'll see that it's a fairly small group of Marines. But probably. They have very fast reaction time. Yeah, one of them went off there. But even 4 Marines can DPS down a spider mine. But not 2. So that's basically spider mine placement. You want to clump them up if you are fighting versus ranged units with fast response time, such as the Marines and the Hydralisks, and Stalkers as well, just to make sure one of them will hit. Versus melee units like Zerglings and Zealots, you want to space them out. Also versus Dragoons, you can space them out a little bit more, but because Dragoons have a much slower reaction time when they're shooting, which we're going to look at now. Okay, so we're going to be doing Dragoons versus spider mines. Now this is only in a situation where you don't have an observer. So this is mostly early in the game. Let's say, for example, Vultures have run past your natural and put some spider mines up in your main base. You will not be able to kill the spider mines before they were planted, but you know where they are because you remember where they placed them. You don't have an observer yet, and you only have a few Dragoons, and you just chase off the Vultures. Now you want to clean up these mines, because maybe they're like right outside a gateway or something, so they don't blow up on a gateway unit that is going to be complete. Now if you just take the Dragoons and A-move, this is what's going to happen, and it's not too fun. So yeah, Dragoons A-moving, not a good idea. But you only need 2 Dragoons to do this. And there's a similar trick in Brood War, but it's slightly different in Starbow because the engine is different. And basically all you have to do is just to A-move like I did there, but just very small steps at a time, going towards the spider mine. Now, this does not work 100% every time, but it's fairly reliable. There we go. So let's see if we can do this. Good. Oh, let me just remove these vultures. There we go. So as you can see, with very small steps, knowing where the spider mine is, you can defuse it with just 2 Dragoons. Oh, there we go. Sometimes it doesn't work. It's a little bit unreliable, but it's way better than just A-moving right across the whole field. There we go. So this is 6 spider mines. I've been able to defuse 3, and I failed 1 so far. Let's see. There we go. Oof, that was close. It's really close. There we go. So 5 out of 6. Not too bad. If you want to stop watching now, you can. I'm going to spend the rest of the video explaining exactly why this is, and it's a little bit technical, but I wanted to explain this for anyone who's curious. So why is it that Dragoons that are A-moving over the whole field almost always get hit, but Dragoons that are stutter-stepping is not getting hit? There's something called a minimal scan range, which Jack Attack has talked about, which has something to do with how fast the unit reacts when it sees a threat. Now in Starbow, the scan range is longer than its actual range, like it has been changed in Legacy of the Void. So this is not why this is happening in Starbow. The reason why this is happening in Starbow is because Dragoons, it's a good sentence, but Dragoons has something called a damage point, which means that it takes a little bit of time from they lock or locate a target until they actually fire. Now this shouldn't change that much between A-moving with smaller steps and A-moving with larger steps. But the Dragoons also have another behavior in Starbow, which is a de-acceleration rate. It's quite fast, but it's noticeable, which means the Dragoons takes a little bit of time to actually stop. And they can only fire while they're standing still. So that means they have to first stop, then stand still, then lock on their damage point, wait for the damage point time, and then they can fire, which gives the spider mine some time to launch out to them. Now when you just move little steps at a time, their deacceleration will have already completed, because by the time they're stopping, that's when the spider mine's popping out. So you're gonna reduce your deacceleration time just very, very slightly, or no, you're not gonna reduce the time, but the whole time it takes from the Dragoon has to start stopping until you can shoot the spider mine is going to be reduced, because you're already starting the stop process a little bit quicker. Okay, I don't know if that didn't just confuse other people more, but anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little micro trick video. I'll be doing some more in the future, hopefully, and have a good day.